And good evening, New Mexico. No matter what side your politics lie, I don't think anybody is going to argue that things are extremely tense right now. So many would like to see some resolution to the situation in Washington, but that appears pretty far off tonight. I mean, new videos dropping every single hour of every day of the chaos at the Capitol last Wednesday. The violence, especially against Capitol Police officers, is beyond disturbing. Today, House Democrats did draft an article of impeachment against the president, essentially accusing him of inciting that mob attack. And as we have often been doing in these unprecedented times, we got UNM Law professor Josh Kastenberg's take on things earlier tonight. So let's start off with why he says it's actually wrong to call what happened a riot.
Some politicians and some other news agency are referring to it as a riot. It wasn't a riot. It was an assault upon the United States government.
So he has a much stronger take. Now, you probably heard House Democrats, as we told you, did draft that article of impeachment against President Trump earlier today. But how exactly could that play out? Professor Kastenberg says this could take a while.
So the House is set to take a vote on impeachment on Wednesday. There is no requirement for the House to do a formal hearing. In other words, like a full investigation, like we saw during the Ukraine matters that led to his impeachment. Seems like ancient history now, but it was just 18 months ago, right? So the House can view the president's speech and exhorting the crowd on the morning of the 6th, and they can review what occurred as a result of that speech or the immediate aftermath. They can review the president's inaction and not calling for the crowd to cease their assault on the United States Capitol. And they can determine whether that was an impeachable offense or not and forward the article over to the United States Senate if they agree that it was an impeachable offense. Remember, an impeachment in the House works like a grand jury. The House is determining whether or not there is evidence of criminal wrongdoing in the language of the Constitution, high crimes and misdemeanors, or some other misconduct that would make the president unfit to serve in office. Now, the House has always been the easy part of an impeachment process. It's the Senate that's the difficult part because the Senate has to hold a formal trial. And that's when the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court serves in a ceremonial role of being the presiding officer over the impeachment trial, where the sides can either independently, and they can agree to independently investigate the president, or what we saw in the last round, they can go straight to legal arguments and then go to a vote. It's no different than the last time around, although I think there'll be far more agreement in the Senate as to what the president did or failed to do. There's very little that's hidden on this one. And the question I wonder about is, one, will there be a Senate trial? And two, if so, when will it occur?
And with the FBI warning earlier today about violence and attempted insurrection on Inauguration Day, maybe you're wondering, why not just make President-elect Biden swearing in virtual? I mean, it's the ultimate safety precaution, you know? Well, Professor Kastenberg says it's as much about the message.
There's no constitutional requirement to have a public inauguration, but there's deep history. And if we think about one of our one or two greatest presidents, and we think about the message that Abraham Lincoln gave out in 1864, the 1865 inauguration, he clearly was a target for assassination. We know that's how his life ended. But he wanted to make a very public statement, not, hey, fellas, I won, you've lost, but rather, we need to end this war and to bind the nation's wounds and to go forward. And I can't do that by being hidden in the White House. The message of Vice President-elect Biden is a message of healing and unity. That's what he said that he wants the theme of the inauguration to be. And it may be that he doesn't want a private inauguration in a bunker and wishes to follow in the example of Abraham Lincoln. But given the FBI memo and the activation of the National Guard, and we know the source of anger of some people who refuse to believe in the legitimacy of this election, in particular white supremacist groups, we know that they are operating in both an environment of extreme anger, extreme fear, and they're unwilling to accept the verdict of over 60 courts, the United States Congress, and frankly, the American people. And they've threatened violence in all 50 state capitals. So that's the balance that the president-elect has to assess before the inauguration.